Hi everybody, I'm Lisa Moore and I'm back to read you the next chapter of Hank the Cowdog. This book that we're reading is The Original Adventures of Hank the Cowdog. I'm reading chapter 2 today, and chapter 2 is called Quills, Just Part of the Job. It was kind of a short fight. Coming down, I seen them quills aimed up at me and I tried to change course. Too late. I don't move so good in midair. I lift right in the middle of him and bam! He slapped me across the nose with his tail. Sure did hurt too. Brought tears to my eyes. I hollered for Drover to launch the second wave, but he had disappeared. Porcupine took another shot at me, but I dodged, tore up half an acre of brush and got the heck out of there. As I limped back to the house on pincushion feet, my thoughts went back to the murder scene and the elevation I had committed to memory. It was clear now. The porcupine had nothing to do with it at all. The murder of the chickens was not the porcupines. They don't eat anything but trees. Drover had found the first set of tracks he had come to and had started hollering about coyotes. I had been duped into believing that little runt. Yes, it was all clear. I had no leads, no clues, no idea. Who had killed the hen? What I did have was a face full of porcupine quills, as well as several in my paws. I limped up to the yard gate. As you might expect, Drover was nowhere to be seen. I sat down beside the gate and waited for Loper to come out and remove the quills. A lot of dogs would have set up and howled and moaned. Not me. I figured that would happen when a dog got to be head of ranch security. We ought to be able to stand a little pain. It just went with the territory, right? So I waited and waited. And Loper didn't come out. Them quills were beginning to hurt. The end of my nose throbbed. It felt like a balloon. Made me awful restless, but I didn't whine or howl. Pete the barn cat came along just then, had that tail stuck straight up in the air and was rubbing it along the fence, coming my way. He had his usual dumb cat expression. I could hear him purring. He came closer and I glared at him. Scram, cat. He stopped, arched his back, and rubbed up against the fence. What's all that on your face? Nothing you need to know about, cat. He rubbed and purred, then reached up and sharpened his claws on the post. You sure look funny with all those things sticking out of your nose. You're gonna look funny if you don't run along and mind your own business. I'm not in the mood to take any trash right now. He grinned and kept coming, started rubbing up against my leg. I decided to ignore him, look the other way and pretend he wasn't there. Sometimes that's the best way to handle a cat. Let him know that you won't allow him to get you all stirred up. You have to be firm with cats. Give him the slightest encouragement and he'll try to move in and take over. Pete rubbed and purred. I ignored him, told myself he wasn't there. Then he brought that tail up and flicked it across my nose. I curled my lip and I growled. He looked up at me and grinned and did it again. It tickled my nose and made my eyes water. I had to sneeze. I tried to fight it back, but couldn't hold it. I gave a big sneeze and them quills sent fire shooting through my nose, kind of inflamed me. Don't you see? And all at once, I lost my temper. I made a snap at him, but he was gone over the fence into Sally Mae's yard, which is sort of off limits to us dogs, even though Pete had come and gone as he pleases, which ain't fair. With the fence between us, Pete knew he was safe. He throwed a hump in his back and hissed, "Shh," And what was I supposed to do? Sing him a lullaby? Talk to him about the weather? No, sir, I barked. I barked hard and loud just to let that cat know that he couldn't get me stirred up. The door opened and Loper stepped out on the porch. He was wearing jeans and an undershirt, no hat, no boots, and he had a cup of coffee in his hand. "Hank, leave that cat alone." I stopped and stared at him. "Leave the cat alone?" Pete grinned and walked off, purring and twitching the end of his tail. Back and forth. I could have killed him. I whined and wagged my tail and went over to the gate where Loper could see my nose. He looked up at the sky, took a drink of coffee, swatted a mosquito on his arm, looked up at the clouds again. I whined louder and jumped up on the gate so that he could see that he wasn't missing anything and that my old nose was terrible bad and that his friend Hank, the loyal protector of his ranch, had been wounded in a line of duty. "Don't jump up on the gate." He yawned and went back into the house. 20 minutes later, he came out again, dressed for the day's work. I had waited patiently. My nose was really throbbing by this time, but I didn't complain. When he came out of the gate, I jumped up to greet him. Know what he said? "Hank, you stink. Have you been in that sewer again?" And he walked on down to the corral and didn't even see them quills in my nose. At last he saw them. We were down at the corral. He shook his head and muttered, "Hank, when are you gonna learn about them porcupines? How many times do we have to go through this? Drover never gets quills in his nose." Well, Drover was a little chicken and Loper didn't understand and nobody understood. He got out a pair of fencing pliers out of his saddle shed, threw a leg lock on me and started pulling. Oh, it hurt. Man, did it hurt. It felt like he was pulling off my whole nose, but I took it without a whimper. Well, maybe I whimpered a little bit. When we got her done, Loper rubbed me behind the ears. "There now, try to stay away from them porcupines." And he stood up and started to dust off his jeans when he noticed a wet spot. His eyes came up and they looked kind of worthful. "Did you do that?" I was well on my way to the tall timber when he threw the pliers at me. I couldn't help it. I didn't do it on purpose. Them quills just hurt so bad that I had to let something go. Was it my fault that he had me in a leg lock and got in the way? Make one little mistake on this ranch and they nail you to the wall. I laid low for a while, hid in the post pile, and nursed my nose. It was about 10 o'clock when Sally Mae discovered her murdered hen. And this is the picture. We'll see you tomorrow with more adventures. Bye.